Welcome to another edition of Let's Play WWE 2015. We are 6 days away from the final pay-per-view of 2014 rather. I said the same thing last week. Of 2014 in WWE TLC. And tonight we will get a little clearer picture of some of the matches that will happen this Sunday at TLC. Before I kick off the running of the show, let me set up one pre-show match that will kick off the pre-show tonight, and that is the newly turned Zack Ryder up against one of my jobbers, and Zack will also cut a pro. You know what? I'll save that for an actual show. Let's just see how Zack does as we kick off Monday Night Raw. And Zack kicks off the pre-show with a meh match. But with his status in the company, it's kind of hard, not to have him get some of that match when he's the one that's winning. But either way, Zack wins, kicking off his new status as a heel with some momentum. Getting the ball rolling, let's put it that way. Now we kick off Monday Night Raw with a special appearance by the WWE World. Brock and Paul take us back to the week before Survivor Series, when both John Cena and Randy Orton were taken out mysteriously, and people immediately jumped to the idea that it was Brock Lesnar. Well, to squash those rumors, to quell that intrigue, and to destroy the mystery, Paul Heyman says something to this effect: "My client, Brock Lesnar, isn't afraid of anyone, and if he was going to attack someone, he wouldn't have to do it from behind. He'd do it face to face." And if you don't believe me, take a look and just ask John Cena. And here's when Paul would flash up footage of when Brock and Cena had that big pull-apart brawl. I would say a few weeks after Brock actually showed up and returned back to the WWE. And then he also flashes up back from a month ago, when Brock had the interaction with Triple H, and his past with Hunter. But before Paul could get too far into it, especially once he starts talking about Hunter is the one who comes out. "Paul, those days are behind me. I'm now the WWE COO. And I'm not out here to fight Brock Lesnar. I'm out here to tell Brock Lesnar who he'll be facing at TLC." Before Hunter can make the announcement, well, let's just put it this way: the field widens, with Randy Orton and John Cena both making their presence felt in the ring in front of Brock and Paul and Hunter. This way we don't find out who's challenging the WWE World Heavyweight title at TLC just yet. But we will, and we'll find out tonight. And now we move to our opening match tonight, as I made it official about a week ago. Shelton Benjamin is officially back with the WWE, and Shelton's first match back in WWE since his one-time deal with The Miz a few weeks ago. he defeats Joe Hennig after a botched interference where Ric Flair accidentally hits Joe Hennig. And then this leads to arguing in the ring following the match between Joe and the Nature Boy. Looks like some tension is building between Joe Hennig and the Nature Boy, and that is what Michael Cole, Booker T, and JBL talk about as they're trying to figure out, JBL brings up, is the honeymoon over between the Nature Boy and Joe Hennig, or maybe, just maybe, is Joe not up to the Nature Boy standards of cheating and being the dirtiest player in the game? JBL asks the question, and Booker T, disagrees, but what are you going to do? Yes, the reason why I discontinued Bad News Barrett's Open Challenge is because of the Dust Brothers Open Challenge, and I'm not going to have two people do open challenges, but the Dust Brothers issue an open challenge to any tag team in WWE, and it is accepted by the newest tag team in WWE, Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. As Kidd and Cesaro defeat Golden Stardust after Goldust was disqualified, and maybe, just maybe, you could see Golden Stardust against Kidd and Cesaro in 6 days on pay-per-view, because this does count as a win over the tag team champions. So what does this mean for Kidd and Cesaro and their future in the tag team division? And now we jump backstage where Mark Henry is shown on his cell phone talking to someone. Who it is a mystery, but it sounds intriguing, and it sounds like Mark might have found a tag team partner to go up against the New Day. And now we move on to the next segment with AJ Lee talking about the WWE Divas title triple threat match this Sunday, live on pay-per-view at TLC against Natalya and Nikki Bella. And AJ keeps it short by just saying, Natalya may not be a real diva, but neither am I. It's about time the real women are front and center in this division and push people like you aside because you make this division a joke. And this Sunday, I will win back my title and bring the WWE Divas division to a whole new level. AJ goes up against her former bodyguard in Tamina and is victorious over Tamina in, basically her last match before TLC. And now we move back to last week, and if you don't know what I'm talking about with last week, there's going to be a link right up in the top right corner to go back to watch last week's show, to where I talk about this. So if you want to go back and watch it, so you know what I'm talking about, then go ahead, and then you can come back and rewatch, and you can come back and start where you left off with this one. But last week, it was announced by the announcers that Brie Bella would have a special announcement this week, and that is exactly what this video is showing. It is talking about last week's special announcement, and this week's special announcement is Brie Bella welcoming back her husband, Daniel Bryan, as Daniel has disappeared back in May following his injury. I believe it was his neck or his shoulder. I don't really remember what his first injury was. But He's back. I told you last week that the returns would continue, and this week's return is the leader of the Yes Movement, Daniel Bryan, who returns to a big ovation and says he's ready to return to the ring. But as soon as he says that, that brings out the principal owner of WWE, Stephanie McMahon, who breaks the news to Daniel Bryan that he can't return. Because your future is bigger than your career. And with the injury you just had, Daniel, it's about time you start thinking about your future and not your wrestling career. Until you prove you're healthy to me and Triple H, you will stay out of the ring. Because your future is bigger than your career. And it's to a course of boos that we hear this from Stephanie. But look, I just want to say before I get to Dolph Ziggler's match that I know what happened last week on Raw, but in real life, I'm talking about real life with Daniel Bryan's retirement, but I had this storyline in the cards for a long time before we knew Daniel Bryan was gonna retire. Before his retirement, before everything came out, before we knew anything, I had this in the cards for a long time. So, number one, I'm not doing it for views, and number two, I'm doing it because, well, simple. I had it in the plans for a long time, and I'm going with my plans. I'm going with my plans. And as you can see, Dolph Ziggler just fought in what I think was a rarity, because I don't really remember the last time he actually worked, but he worked against Ryback, got the victory, and then he grabs a mic following his match and drops out a challenge to The Miz, because The Miz indirectly said that he is a fighting champion and would fight Dolph Ziggler anywhere to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that he is the greatest Intercontinental Champion in WWE history. But The Miz doesn't accept his challenge. Christian does. And Christian says, Dolph, you're not the only one who wants The Miz. I do too. And I want The Miz because I am the reason this title is even back, this title is even still active, because I won the match to become the first Intercontinental Champion when we brought back the belt. Back in 2003, I won the match to become the champion, and I am the reason this title still exists. So I deserve my shot against The Miz to show that I can still go. And to prove that Miz is dead wrong when he says he is the best Intercontinental Champion. Tension exists between, the tensions are rising between Dolph Ziggler and Christian as we approach TLC. And now we move forward with the Big Show competing against our jobber, I guess you could say, or enhancement talent, whatever you want to call him, whatever you prefer to call, guys who always lose, up against the Big Show. Why? Because much like Dolph, I don't remember the last time Big Show actually worked, so I figured why not put him in a match. Doesn't have to be a competitive match, just has to be a match. And the Big Show obviously wins pretty quickly against the Cruiserweight Alex Silva. And now we move to looking back at last week's episode, or I think it was last week's episode, where John Cena got screwed out of his match with Randy Orton when Kevin Owens made his WWE main roster debut and distracted John Cena long enough for Randy Orton to get the victory over John Cena. And right then and there, if you watch SmackDown, then you know that John Cena is pissed off at Kevin Owens and wants a piece of the relative unknown, but also wants his chance against Brock Lesnar. But this is basically a video package highlighting, getting to allow people to get to know who Kevin Owens is, and also a highlight package of what happened last week, including the face-off following Randy Orton versus John Cena's match between Cena and Owens, and what followed on SmackDown between John Cena, with John Cena calling out Kevin Owens and getting Seth Rollins. And then we move forward where JBL is the only one on the team, on the broadcast committee, the broadcast team, to praise Kevin Owens for his actions by attacking John Cena and costing him his match last week on Raw. As JBL says, no better way to make a name for yourself than going after the top dog, and that's exactly what Owens did, going after John Cena. And now we slide backstage where Triple H is in his office, and Christian walks in and says, "You wanted to see me?" Then Hunter says, "Yeah. Look, Christian, at first, me and Steph we're gonna give you an opportunity to face Dolph Ziggler at TLC for the number one contendership for the Intercontinental title against The Miz, but we found out you're not medically cleared to compete yet. So, with that being the case, we can't let you face Dolph Ziggler. So, Christian, I'm sorry, you're out of the number one contender match. And you will not face The Miz or Dolph Ziggler until you're medically cleared to compete." Hunter, what if I sign a waiver? What if I sign a waiver to where I can compete, so I can compete? The Christian, I can't let you. I don't want you to risk life and limb like that. Just wait until you're healthy, and then maybe you can get a title shot then. Hunter, no. Doctor's orders, Christian. So, you heard it there. Christian is out of the title picture because he's still recovering from his concussion that he sustained, I believe, over the summer. And he will not receive his match against Dolph Ziggler to see who is the number one contender, and he will not get an opportunity against The Miz until he is 100% and clears medical tests. And then we move to the next match with Chris Jericho against Rusev. And I know at least one of you might say, why the hell are you making Jericho beat Rusev, and why the hell are you making Rusev lose so much? To answer your first question, Jericho beating Rusev does not mean I'm burying Rusev, because I've said this countless times before. When somebody loses one match, that does not mean they're being buried, no matter who they lose it to, because one win or one loss isn't going to make or break your career. Because anyone who's anyone can get the win back. Anyone who's anyone can get the win back. In a week, in a day, anyone can get the win back. So that's why you could lose any match. You can win any match. Also, look who distracted Rusev, allowing Jericho to win. I protected Rusev because he lost off a distraction. Sort of like, maybe you could say, when Rob Van Dam returned and defeated Rusev, he defeated him via fluke, but he surprised him. Once again, I protected Rusev. I did it to push the feud. That's it. Jericho versus Rusev happened because I wanted to push the feud. And then the heated confrontation between Rusev and Rob. Now we move backstage with Renee Young, who's standing by with Mark Henry. And to the extent of this interview is that Mark Henry basically announces, puts out a challenge to the New Day for TLC, which is what the announcers also talk about as we move back to the broadcast position with Michael and cohorts, that not only has Mark found a tag team partner, but also Mark wants a shot against Big E and Kofi at TLC. And now we continue on with the card as the NXT upstart Sami Zayn competes against also former NXT star Ty Dillinger, who does his entrance for the live crowd and they don't know what the heck he's doing, but he does it anyway. But either way, Sami is victorious, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you probably don't know Ty Dillinger as 10. But either way, I digress and go back to Sami Zayn and the point of this match, because the point of this match is another return. And this return sees the return of Ted DiBiase Jr. And Ted DiBiase Jr. is back in the WWE after a long-standing absence. And by the way, the reason why Teddy Jr. is back has nothing to do with me wanting to reform anything or bring back anything or give him a shot that he never got. It's because the lack of depth in the mid-card in WWE today is ridiculous. I brought him back for no other reason other than depth. It's like signing a fifth outfielder to give you depth in the outfield position in baseball, or a second point guard in basketball, or whatever in another sport. And if you're not a sports fan, I apologize for those references. But either way, we continue with the card. Now we move into a video package highlighting Roman Reigns is training to return to the ring, and Roman will be back very soon. And that is how this video ends, making it different than every other video that I've done this far for Roman Reigns, because at the end of the video it says, coming soon. Because Roman will be back soon from his hernia. And now we move backstage with Byron Saxton standing by with Ted DiBiase Jr. And Byron asks Teddy Jr. about his actions and why he assaulted Sami Zayn, and all Ted Jr. says is, "Why don't you ask Dusty?" And then he walks off, leaving once again more questions than answers. And now we move to the next match and the main event, John Cena versus Eric Rowan. And let me just fill you in on the reason why this match is happening. If you missed SmackDown, which I know I mentioned earlier, but if you missed SmackDown, the main event of SmackDown last week was supposed to be Seth Rollins versus John Cena, but Bray Wyatt got involved. In many respects, people thought because Bray was trying to get to Seth, because his mysterious promos were about Seth, but the long story short is, the match between Cena and Rollins never happened. All we saw was a face-off between Seth and Bray, and then a face-off between Cena and Bray. But the reason why Bray's not competing and Eric Rowan is because Bray is hurt. Bray will be back very soon, but at this point, Bray is injured. And that's why Eric is competing instead. And now we move to the back end of the show as Hunter makes his way back out to the ring following Cena's match against Eric Rowan. And Hunter calls out both Randy Orton and John Cena to make his announcement official as to who will be challenging Brock Lesnar for the WWE World Heavyweight title next. But before Hunter can make the announcement, once again, let me just check something. Nah, screw it. Let's just do it. Because I don't want to... Let me just move forward. The reason why I turned Randy Orton in that way is because if I wait too long, then it would affect him negatively because I waited too long to turn him babyface. But yes, I had every intention of the world in turning Randy babyface, and not in the way that they turned him face in real life, in this way instead. So yes, Randy is a good guy now. But either way, Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar find their way out to the ring. And Triple H finally gets the opportunity to say that in discussion, after discussing it with Paul Heyman and Stephanie, the main event of TLC this Sunday will be a triple threat #1 contender match between Dean Ambrose, John Cena, and Randy Orton, where the winner will face Brock Lesnar at Royal Rumble for the WWE World Heavyweight title. That's right. I guess you could say, think of TLC as a bridge pay-per-view to the Royal Rumble, because you now not only found out that the world title will not be on the line, but it will be a triple threat match between John Cena, Randy Orton, and Dean Ambrose, and the winner will be the #1 contender to face Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble for the WWE World Heavyweight title. So at this point right now, it is Cena, Orton, and Ambrose in one match in the main event, and the Divas title match, Nikki Bella versus Natalya versus AJ Lee for the WWE Divas title, Rusev versus Rob Van Dam for the United States title, and I can basically guarantee you, and Mark Henry and his mystery partner versus Big E and Kofi, also happening at TLC, plus a whole lot more this Sunday live on pay-per-view. But that's this Sunday for right now. As you can tell, we increased our popularity in 19 regions after tonight's show, which got us a 78, which I think is a very solid show for the go-home show to the pay-per-view. It could have been better, it could have been worse, but either way, it was good. And I think that finally my direction for WWE is slowly but surely coming to the forefront and actually getting over. And it is getting over a month or two before it did the first time, because I remember the first time I did WWE 2015, it probably took until almost February for my direction to actually start getting results. But now, in the middle of December, as we head towards TLC, my direction's getting results. Now, do you enjoy my direction with all the talent, some of the talent, none of the talent? Let me know what you think thus far of this Let's Play series in the comment section below. And if you like the series, don't forget to leave a like or subscribe to the channel for more content just like this that you can only find right here at Wrestling Express. Till next time, later.